Let's take care of this continue learning button. For starters, we are going to have a page where a user can watch lessons. The page is going to take in the series, slot, lesson number, and then when we redirect the user to that page, the correct video is loaded. Okay, so I'll head over to my web.php and I'm going to define a new route. In this route is going to be a get, and it would go to watch series, and it will take in the series slug. Okay, and it's going to use a controller, watch series controller, and I'll just direct it to the index method. Okay, let me create that controller, php artisan make controller watch series controller. Okay, so our watch series controller should have an index method, and this takes in the series. So I'll type in series right here for Laravel to automatically inject that instance. So use broadcast series, and then once we have this method and the series in it, what we want to do is, for starters, redirect the user to the first lesson of the series. Okay, but we're gonna actually be setting up a way so that we can redirect the user to the latest completed lesson. Okay, so like if you completed lesson 2, we redirect him to lesson 3. If you completed lesson 5 last time, we redirect him to lesson 8, to lesson 6, sorry. So we're gonna be setting up that system, but for now let's just redirect the user to the first lesson. So return redirect, and why don't we create a route, and we're gonna call this route series.watch, and this route is going to take in 2 parameters, the series, and we'll pass in series slug. Okay, because route model binding, we need to pass the slug, and it's gonna take in lesson, remember route model binding parameter, and we'll pass in series lessons first, and we'll get the ID. Okay, so let me break this down for you. It's just an array of the parameters that are going to be passed to this route that we are going to create. Okay, so this route is expecting a series and a lesson. So the series we have easily, but the lesson we have to make a query, and what we do is we simply get the first lesson from the relationship right here. Okay, so this relationship gives us the first lesson, and then we can get the ID. We pass it to that parameter. Okay, so return redirect to this route, but in future we're gonna have to actually find the latest lesson the user watched and then return to that page. Okay, but for starters this is good enough. Okay, so what we need to do is create that route that we just specified. So we'll create a route, and this would be series, parameter series, then lesson, and parameter lesson. Okay, and this is also going to watch series controller at show lesson. Okay, then we'll have to give it the name we specified. So name is going to be series.watch. Okay, so like we precised, we're passing in the series, the lesson, and the name of the route is series.watch, like right here. So series and lesson. Okay, so let's go ahead and customize that button so it leads to this route. So we'll head over to our series.blade.php, and where we have our continue learning button, we're gonna have to include an href. Okay, so why don't we give the other route a name also? So this route, so let's just call it series.learning. Okay, and then in this route we could pass in our route to series.learning, and we'll pass in the series slug as the parameter to that route. Okay, so when the user clicks on the continue learning button, it's going to invoke the index method, and the index method is simply going to redirect the user to the first lesson of that series. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that button and see what we get. Refresh, click on the button. Okay, it says trying to get property of known object on line 13, this line right here. So maybe these lessons, let's first of all check if we have the lessons relationship. So right at the top, yes, we do. So the next thing should be this first method. The first method is returning null, and then we are trying to get the ID parameter, which means we are trying to get a property from a known object. So looks like we need to go to our admin and actually save a new lesson into this series. Okay, like I thought, this series has no lessons. So let's create a new lesson, and this would be Introduction to Vue.js 2.0 or 2.5, and then we just pass in a fake Vimeo ID, and the episode number is gonna be 100. Introduction to Vue.js 2.5, Vimeo ID, this, and then we're gonna say, let's introduce you to this awesome framework. Okay, then create lesson, and we have lesson created successfully. There we go, we have our first lesson. Let's visit our home, visit that series, and click on the continue learning button. And now we are redirected to series Vue.js lesson 1, and then we don't have the show lesson method. So let's create it. In our watch series, we're gonna create public function show lesson method, and we need to receive the series, and we also need to receive the lesson. Now our lesson, we just need to import that so we don't have any errors. And then what we do right here is return a view. So return view, which would be watch, and we'll pass in two parameters, a series and a lesson. Okay, so we might not need to pass in the series and lesson, because from the lesson we can get the series, but we're gonna come back and refactor in a little while. Okay, so just to save us a lot of time, I actually created a watch.blade.php already in my Vue root directory, and then right here we just have the standard template. So here we need to echo out the lesson title. So I'm just gonna say lesson title, and then here we have series title. So I'm just gonna spit out series title, and right down at the bottom, this is where we're gonna be putting our player and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's refresh this link once again, and great, we have this page, Introduction to Vue.js 2.5 Vue.js Beginner Course.